Chapter 15 of Bunny Brown and His Sister Sue at Christmas Tree Cove by Laura Lee Hope. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Sean McGaughey
and Sarah.
Chapter 15 Bunny's Toe. For some little time, Bunny Brown and his sister Sue stood among the Christmas trees, as they called the evergreens that lined the shore of the cove. The night seemed to get darker and darker. It was really only dusk, and it was much lighter out on the open beach than it was under the trees. But the trouble was that Bunny and Sue were in among the evergreens, and they thought it was later than it really was. "Oh, Bunny, what are we going to do?" asked his sister after a while, during which she had held tightly to his hand and looked about. Bunny was looking around also, trying to think what was the best thing to do. He was older than his sister, and he felt that he must take care of her and not frighten her. I guess we'd better walk along, Sue," said Bunny at last. "But maybe then we'll get lost more," Sue suggested. "We can't be lost any more than we are," declared Bunny. "We can't see our bungalow, and we don't know where it is, and, well, we'd better walk on." Bunny looked at his sister. He saw her lips beginning to tremble, dark as it was under the trees. And when Sue's lips quivered in that way, Bunny knew what it meant. "Sue, are you going to cry?" he asked, coming to a stop after they had walked on a little way. "Are you going to cry? Real?" I was, Bunny," she answered. "Don't you want me to?" "No, I don't," he said very decidedly. "It's of no use to cry, 'cause you can't find your house that way, and it makes your nose hurt. Don't cry, Sue." "All right, I won't," bravely agreed the little girl. "I won't cry real. I'll just cry make-believe." And then and there some tears rolled out of her eyes, down her cheeks, and dropped to the ground. Sue also sniffled a little, and she seemed to be holding back gasping, choking sounds in her throat. Bunny looked at her in some surprise. He saw the salty tears on her cheeks. "That's awful like real crying, Sue," he said. "Well, it isn't. It's only make-believe, like the crying we saw the lady do in the moving pictures." Choking back what was really a real sob. "I'm only making believe," she went on. "But if we don't stop being lost pretty soon, Bunny, maybe I'll have to cry real." "Well," answered the little boy with a sigh as he took a firmer hold of Sue's hand, "maybe you will."
Then the children walked on together, making their way through the dark Christmas woods. They really did not know where they were going. It was some time since Bunny had glimpsed the sight of the bungalow. All at once, as they walked along, they heard the distant bark of a dog. At once Sue stood still and pulled her brother to a stop also. "Bunny, did you hear that?" she asked. "Yes," he replied, "I did. It's nothing but a dog, and he's a good way off, 'cause his bark was real little." "But, Bunny, maybe it's the dog that took Mother's pocketbook and ring," she went on. "If it is, we ought to chase him." She was forgetting her fear of being lost now in the excitement of hearing the dog bark, and in thinking he might be the one that caused the loss of the diamond ring. "Listen," whispered Bunny. He and Sue stood in the fast darkening woods, and to their ears the bark of the dog sounded fainter now. "He's going away," announced Bunny. "Anyhow, I don't suppose he was the same dog. That dog never could get away up here. It must be some other one." "Well, maybe it is," agreed Sue. "Oh, Bunny, when are we going to get home?" she asked, and this time it sounded very much as though she was going to cry in earnest. "I guess we'll be home pretty soon now," said Bunny hopefully. "Let's walk over this way." And he pointed to a new path that crossed the one they had been walking along for some time. Sue was very willing to leave it to Bunny, and she walked along beside her brother, and never once letting go his hand. All at once the children heard a rustling, and the leaves of the bushes that grew amid the trees. They could hear little sticks being broken as though someone were stepping on them.
"Oh, Bunny!" exclaimed Sue, shrinking closer to her brother. "Maybe it is the dog coming after us." "It couldn't be," said Bunny quickly. "If it was the dog, he'd bark, wouldn't he?" "I guess he would," Sue answered. "But we'd better look out, Bunny." "I'll get a stick," offered the little boy. "And if it's a bad dog, I'll—" He was interrupted by a cry from Sue, a joyful cry. "Oh, Bunny!" shouted the little girl. "It isn't a dog at all. It's Bunker Blue. Here he is." "Did you come for us, Bunker?" she asked, as Mr. Brown's boat boy came brushing his way through the shrubbery. "Yes, I've been looking for you," answered Bunker. "Your mother was getting worried, but Rose and Jimmy Madden said they'd seen you come up into these woods, and I thought I'd find you here." "Oh, I'm so glad you did, Bunker," cried Sue, catching hold of one of his hands. "We were lost, Bunny and I were, and we heard a dog bark, and maybe he was the one that took my mother's pocketbook. Did you hear him, Bunker?" "Yes, I heard him, Sue," he said, with a smile at the children who were no longer lost. "But it isn't the same dog, I'm pretty sure. That pocketbook and ring are gone forever, I guess. Now, come on home." "Do you know the way?" asked Sue, as Bunny took hold of Bunker's other hand. "Oh, yes, and it isn't far to the bungalow," answered the fish boy. "You couldn't see it on account of the thick trees." And surely enough, in a little while he led them out on the path to the beach, and they were soon at the bungalow again. "You must not go off into these woods alone again," said Mrs. Brown. "They are thicker and darker than the woods at home, Bunny, and it is easier for you to get lost in them. Don't go to them alone again." "No'm, I won't," promised the little fellow. "But wouldn't it have been fine, Mother, if we could have found the dog that took your diamond ring?" "Yes, Bunny, it would have been lovely," said Mrs. Brown, "but I'm afraid that will never happen."
There were so many things to do to have fun at Christmas Tree Cove that Bunny and his sister Sue hardly knew what to play at first. Each day brought new joys. They could build houses on the sand, paddle, or bathe in the cool, shallow water, sail tiny boats which Uncle Tad made for them, or take walks with their mother. Daddy Brown stayed for several days at the cove, and then he had to go back at Belmere to his dock and boat business, but he said he would come to the cove again as soon as he could. Uncle Tad and Bunker stayed at the bungalow to help Miss Brown, and Bunker often took Bunny and Sue out in a rowboat on the quiet waters of the cove. One day Miss Brown took some sewing, packed a small basket of lunch, and said to the children, "Now, Bunny and Sue, we will have a little picnic all by ourselves. Bunker and Uncle Tad are going fishing, so we will go down to the beach and stay all afternoon. We will eat our lunch there. And while I sit and sew, you children can play around." Bunny and Sue thought this would be fun, and soon they started off. It was a beautiful day, sunny but not too hot, and soon Miss Brown was busy with her needle while Sue and her brother played on the sand. Mother Brown was trying to thread a very fine needle, which seemed to have closed its eye and gone to sleep, when suddenly Sue came running after her so fast that she almost overturned the sun umbrella, which Miss Brown had raised to make shade. "Oh, Mother! Oh, Mother!" gasped Sue, so out of breath that she could hardly speak. "Oh, Mother, come quick!" "What's the matter?" asked Miss Brown, quickly getting to her feet. "Oh, it's Bunny's toe! It's Bunny's toe!" was all Sue said, and catching hold of her mother's hand, she pulled her down towards the water.
End of chapter 15.